Joe! Joe on Joe is the only podcast where Joe talks about Joe. And now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Joe on Joe. It's me, your host, Joe Slepsky. And, this week, to honor our guest from last week, Michael Charles Hill, I thought let's run a rerun of our Cold Slither documentary. So if you are hearing this for the first time, I hope you enjoy it. If if you've heard it before, I hope you enjoy it still. And feel free to skip over it if you want. But if you are hearing this, and you didn't listen to last week's episode, please go back and give it a listen. Michael Charles Hill was gracious enough to give us his time, and he was the writer of both the episode Cold Slither, but also obviously the song Cold Slither. So, go back, listen to last week, listen to this week, enjoy Cold Slither, Behind the Rock. It was a lot of fun putting together. And, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Joe and Joe Pod. Give our wonderful sponsors, the Movies in a Meal podcast, a ton of love. They cover all the latest and greatest movies, and they cover all the big, genre TV shows. They're fabulous sponsors, and they really help us out a lot. Send me an email to joeandjoepod@gmail.com. Let me know what you think of Cold Slither. Let me know what you think of the show in general. Let me know how great was Michael Charles Hill last week. I hope everyone who was at Joe Fest said hello to him. It looked like it was a tremendous time. I believe he got awarded a Golden Duke Award, which is awesome. So we're having a lot of fun. Should be back next week with a fresh live episode, but I just wanted to follow that up with a little Cold Slither for you. So here you go, everyone. Here's the original recording of Cold Slither, Behind the Rock. Enjoy.
It was the fall of 1985 when one band, one movement, swept the nation. Taking America's youth by storm, this rock and roll group emerged from nowhere to entertain thousands of fans, both live and over the airwaves. Original members Buzzer, Torch, Ripper, and Zartan were on t-shirts, posters, and the lips of teenagers everywhere. What was behind their meteoric rise to stardom? More importantly, what was behind their downfall? A cascade of grape soda, chocolate donuts, broken hearts, and motorcycle parts to find a band that critics called loud, criminals, and definitely a band. Their fans called them something else. This is Cold Slither, Behind the Rock. Just what was Cold Slither? Some say they were only a Cobra money-making scheme. The band members paint a different story altogether. Buzzer, Ripper, Torch, and Zartan were the driving force of a heavy metal revolution that took 1985 by storm.
Cobra Commander brought this plan to us. He was all,
Zartan, I've got a new scheme to take over the world.
I was like, sure, okay. How about a realistic goal every once in a while, but okay.
Oh, so we were just hanging out at the servo, plotting some mayhem, and this payday fell into our laps.
Ripper said plotting mayhem. If I recall correctly, when Zartan approached us, Rip was using his fingers and toes to count all his bloody felonies. Bit of ironic foreshadowing there, though, right?
Dunno about Buzzer, Rip, but I've been monkeying with guitar since my time in the Merchant Marines. I used to torch my own guitars together. Sounded terrible, but they looked cool.
I actually learned piano as an ankle biter. Wee Ripper. Me mum would give me a few bucks for lessons, but I'd always go to the bottle-o and get some candy cigarettes. I'm sorry, I mean candy and cigarettes. But I couldn't lie to me mum, so I just forced the chalky to learn me the piano for free.
Buzzer don't bloody play music. I never needed to know music. Then Cold Slither happens. To this day, I still don't think I needed to know music.
The band had a tumultuous beginning as a front for a Cobra mind control program, engineered by both Destro and a then behind-the-scenes Dr. Mindbender.
Yeah, it was all my idea. I was on Destro's Mars Industries payroll at the time. He hadn't yet invited me to Cobra's inner circle.
Mindbender hadn't created the bats yet. Mind control's pedestrian. Dr. Venom already had mind control. It takes more to be invited to Cobra Command.
The mind control worked as a subliminal enslavement program, playing as a backing track underneath the main music. This gave Cobra complete mental control of the audience. But was that all there was to Cold Slither?
It sucks that our legacy is about mind control. I mean, Guns N' Roses don't get tagged with that. Motley Crue doesn't get slapped with hypnosis. And I'm wise that Nicky Six gabbed with Mindbender back in '85.
Listen, the Zartan brand name is all about deception. So I loved the idea. I just didn't know how much work was going to be involved.
Cold Slither may have broken wide in December of 1985, but they were playing gigs as early as 1983.
We were all stuck on the space station, right? Bored out of our minds, babysitting some POWs and fatal fluffies.
Torch had the brilliant idea to scrap some pieces of the space station to make instruments.
I mentioned that ripping apart a space station might be a dog's breakfast, and that's coming from me, Ripper, who rips things. Torch took issue with my rather dinky suggestions, and then he punched me in the chivvy while questioning my status as a dreadnought.
One ding-dong-go later, we were welding space station pieces to make some instruments. Just like the old days.
I used some Joe helmets for percussion, you know, like those little cannibal fatal fluffies in Jedi, right? Anyway, though, that was when the alarm started sounding and we lost our gravity, right? It's hard to bang on an helmet when Newton's 3 laws of motion are on full display, you know what I mean?
As an aside, does anyone know what did happen to those fluffies?
After narrowly escaping the satellite crash, the Dreadnoks continued on their terrorizing ways, all the while honing their musical abilities. It was during this period that Cobra struck a lucrative licensing deal.
Funny pages and nipper tunes. I was fed up.
We signed over our likenesses to Cobra, but we didn't think they'd do us like that.
The comic was alright, I mean, I was pretty solid in that, but cartoon was dodgy, I mean, we were comic relief.
Of course they were comic relief. Have you spent 5 minutes in a room with those morons? They could be nothing else but comic relief.
With the rising success of their animated adventures, there were real-world ramifications for the Dreadnoks.
I couldn't show my face down under. For the first time in my life, I was Devo. And I've done some crook stuff. Murder, mayhem, general misanthropy. But that cartoon, man, it made old Torchy look like a mug.
So when Destro proposed this idea to make a rock band, me and Torch clinched. Anything to get our road cred back.
I just wanted some birds.
And so Cold Slither was born. When we return, Cobra makes their move, and the real work begins. Next on Cold Slither, Behind the Rock.
Hi, I'm Fred16 of the Midwest Fred series, and I'm here to talk with you about your home value. Extensive Enterprises took you in, changed your face, gave you a fake family, and embedded you into small towns across America. Living the dream, right? Part of that dream was home ownership. And when you became a Fred, we gave you a home. You signed the documents, and that means legally, the home you own is your property. All that value, all the equity, all yours because some Extensive Enterprises accountant screwed up. With that in mind, why are you sitting on that home investment? There's gold in them there homes. Gold that should have been Cobra's, but for the oversight of a now renditioned low-level accountant. Cobra Reverse Home Mortgage gives you back the equity in your home by taking total ownership of your home now, before your fake family takes it after you've taken a laser to the face. Trust me, I'm a Fred. Well, I'm one of 37 Freds, but you know what I mean. Sign up for the Cobra Reverse Home Mortgage today and start living your best life, the life shared by the dozens of other guys that look just like you. Cobra Reverse Home Mortgage. Render unto Cobra that which was supposed to be Cobra's in the first place, but for the mistake of a now dead accountant.
Don't miss 20 Questions this Sunday with host Hector Ramirez as he works to expose the corruption of the G.I. Joe team. This week, Hector visits the Fort Wadsworth Chaplain's Assistance Motor Pool to talk with Clarence and Cecil, two former staffers who claim to be whistleblowers. Also, the 5-part expose continues on the mysterious mercenary Quinn. Only Hector Ramirez has the courage to put truth to power every Sunday on 20 Questions, only on CCTV Channel 36, The Snake!
The Dreadnoks were enlisted to form Cold Slither, but like the Prefab Four before them, the producers of Cold Slither didn't realize just what magic they had on their hands. Tomax and Zaymot, twin CEOs of Extensive Enterprises, were there from the start.
We handled all the paperwork. Between the mind control, the groupies, and the band's rider,
it was going to be a lot of work. So, my brother and I worked as both manager and agent.
Some say that's double dealing. We say that's smart business.
I say 40% of our profits went to two punters who couldn't stop leaping out of their own office windows.
The first thing they needed was a song. For that, they turned to the resident Cobra poet, Major Sebastian Blood.
Yeah, I wrote Cold Slither. Not that you'd know it from the royalty checks. Those pirates forced me to sign over writing credit to Extensive Enterprises. My greatest work of verse, heard round the world, and everyone thinks that two creepy acrobats wrote it.
According to Blood, that wasn't the last time his verse would be stolen.
If you noticed, I left Cobra and had a much lower profile for a time. I spent those years writing a plethora of top hits, all stolen from me. Girls, Girls, Girls was my song. Birds, Birds, Birds. To Be With You by Mr. Big was my song. Sloppy Sickens. Most painful, though, was the mega hit Unskinny Bop, completely ripped off from my personal magnum opus. My one eye doesn't see size.
Why just the Dreadnoks? Why not have other members of Cobra join Cold Slither?
Aye, the twins thought I would fit in, what with the chrome and all, but it really wasn't my style. However, I'm a team player, so they had me ask my darling Baroness to participate.
Oh, they asked me to be a backup singer. Of course I declined. The Baroness backs up no one.
I had to stay at the Silent Castle for a week.
With the corporate Cobra machine in place, the band set out to play some gigs and find their rhythm. One of their first stops was the south side of Chicago.
The Thirsty Whale.
Promoted on a popular local events calendar, most of the crowd showed up that night expecting something quite different.
Starbeat presents What's Happening.
Saints and Sinners in Willow Springs features live music nightly. The Prime and Tenor is daily fashion shows 10 to 4. English Leather Bikini Finals Wednesday at Eric the Red's 3300 West 111th Street. This Saturday night, White Slither, a metal experience, plays with the Thirsty Whale.
They thought we were some kind of Poison cover band. I guess the snake motif and whatnot had them rattled.
I don't blame them. But when the third full can of old style hits you in the head, I was like, enough's enough.
Which was mental, because the band Enough's Enough was the actual headliner that night. Chip Zenough heard that, and he took to the stage, which we didn't take too kindly to.
The fight that broke out spilled onto the streets, resulting in a 3-state police chase, with the Dreadnoks first fleeing to Indiana, then turning around and ending up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
It was like that blues movie. Lots of bobbies, lots of crashes, lots of sunglasses.
The only thing that saved us was my brother and sister. They met us on Lake Michigan with a swamp fire and my skier. We all took off across the lake.
This is where the legend of Cold Slither takes a turn. Enter Xandar and Zorana, Zartan siblings, who also possess a flair for the dramatic.
Zartan needed a favour. We were between gigs, so I said, what the hell, let's do it. Plus, Xandar needed the money.
What can I say? I'm a fool for the stage. Given the opportunity, I'd impersonate my mother. I have, in fact, many times. Mostly at home, alone. But uncannily accurate, I promise you that.
And so, for the rest of their short debut tour, Zartan was impersonated by both Xandar and Zorana on alternating nights.
To be honest, I never noticed.
Wait. Who impersonated who now?
I had credible information that a certain revenge-obsessed ninja was sniffing around. Let's just say Saddam wasn't the only one using body doubles. What? No, I didn't care if it was my brother. Or my sister. Why would I? Have you met them?
As their skills were being honed across the Midwest, Cobra Command was putting the finishing touches on the mind control aspect of Cold Slither.
My first attempt at the subliminal messaging just resulted in listeners stripping off their clothing and displaying lewd behavior.
Aye, we sold that technology to Motley Crue.
The second iteration just caused completely blank minds. Total ignorance, no control.
I sold that to an up-and-coming real estate mogul. He was very interested in applying it to hat technology, probably in order to cover up that mess on his head.
Finally, I ironed out the kinks, and I tested it again on our own troops. A group of Vipers were put under my spell, and they followed any instruction I gave them. They eventually became the first group of the Range Vipers. To this day, they incessantly wave to me on Facebook. Annoying.
With the technology in place, it was time to record their first studio album. When we come back, you'll learn just what it takes to get good music out of a dreadnought.
Eventually, I lost my foot to grape soda and chocolate donuts.
Next on Cold Slither, Behind the Rock.
Not all catheters are made the same. I was just a regular Viper, dodging lasers in the roaming hands of Crystal Ball, when the next day, G.I. Joe put me in the infirmary, where I got a catheter and daily visits from Crystal Ball. For years, I struggled with expensive, off-the-shelf catheters and HR complaints. I even tried using the Yo Joe catheters, and let me just say, no Joe to that. What makes them different? Nothing really. They're quite uncomfortable, but here's the trick. Cobra Law catheters are free. That's right, free catheters. All thanks to our friends in Cobra Law. Cobra Law geneticists use the discarded cells of globules to grow these innovative catheters. Sure, they all look like tiny globuluses and are actually living creatures that take residence inside you, but hey, they're free. All I had to do to get catheters for life was allow the future generations of Cobra Law to incubate inside of me. According to doctors, it'll be years before my catheter gains full sentience and bursts out of my body, likely killing me. Until then, I'll enjoy the fact that my Cobra Law catheters are free, and I have finally gotten Crystal Ball to stop creeping around. Sure, that may be asking a lot, but come on, free catheters. Oh yeah.
Hello, Springfield! Join us weekdays for your favorite morning hit of news and culture. Tune in this week for cooking tips with renowned chef B.A. Lacar, animal husbandry tips with former Dreadnought Norguide, and promoting his new book, I Raptor, Cobra Falconer and advice columnist Raptor, live in the studio. Only on Hello, Springfield, mornings on CCT Channel 36. The Snake!
Cold Slither was in the studio for the first time, laying down tracks, but something just wasn't right.
On the road, we had all our stuff. We had the soda, the donuts, the diesel fumes, but in the studio, there was nothing but coffee and bagels.
We had a line on stolen Starbucks trucks.
We're not going to turn down free food
just so some Outback lowlifes can get diabetes.
But the sugars wouldn't be stopped. Soon, the Dreadnoughts were smuggling in their own stash of grape soda and chocolate donuts, which would eventually lead one member down a long, painful road.
It's a bonza combination. When you mix the two, there's like maximum sugar. I have a sweet tooth, what can I say?
Sweet tooth. Not for long. He never brushed his teeth or practiced minimal dental hygiene. I pulled half his teeth by 87, not to mention his foot in 02.
I'm not uppish, alright? I let it get to me, but I was lucky that my dentist was also a master of robotics. Got me an old bat foot for a prosthetic. Works great. Squeaks when it rains, though.
As the Cold Slither recording session wound down, management started to flex their muscle.
We felt that the Dreadnoughts needed a visual upgrade.
You know, to look the part. Have you seen
Kiss?
I wanted our music to speak for itself, not the circus show they put us in.
Well, I look like a punk. Yeah. Not a good punk, like punk, but punk like bad punk.
The first look was not good. Too much eyeliner, too much face paint, too much.
I was completely comfortable with it.
Back to the drawing board, the band settled on a more rock and roll biker look, and for good reason.
I wondered why we didn't just wear our regular garb. People say to me all the time, Ripper, you look pretty lousy.
It's hard to tell when you want the terrorists. Hence, the change of strides.
I really only had one set of gear, so I was chuffed to get new skins, mate.
Xandar designed my look.
Fabulous.
He just stole my clothes.
The album complete, it was time for the publicity machine to kick in.
This was still the 80s. Payola was everywhere.
we'd pull up to a record store in an extensive Enterprises van, hold a laser pistol to the head of the store manager, and surprise, he'd buy two cases of albums.
Radio stations weren't immune to the Corsican charms either.
Our limo would pull up to a radio station. We'd go flipping out the sunroof.
Climb up the side of the building until we reached the DJ,
hold a laser pistol to his head, and surprise, he'd play our single.
Fans of Cold Slither also felt the sales pressure.
Our merch tables were a smashing success.
We stuffed all those tables with Fred series Crimson Guards.
If the crowd didn't buy enough merch, the CGs would pull a laser pistol and rob the crowd.
It wasn't really that complicated in the 80s.
The debut single, Cold Slither by Cold Slither, off the album Cold Slither, with the B-side Cold Slither Reprise, rocketed up the charts, passing megastars like Madonna, Lionel Richie, Huey Lewis and the News, and even catching the attention of the king of pop, Michael Jackson.
We heard Michael Jackson wanted to meet us.
I was sloppy for the Jackson 5, so I said, what the hell? Let's do it.
That was a real pig's ear.
When the police report was filed from Cold Slither's visit to Neverland Ranch, the details painted a horrific picture. A dead giraffe, a destroyed carousel, and a kidnapped Bubbles the Chimp were amongst the charges leveled at Cold Slither.
Sure, still wasn't the worst thing to happen at Neverland Ranch.
Coming up on Behind the Rock, Cold Slither's first encounter with failure, and a little group called G.I. Joe.
Who knew the Joeys were music fans? We were trying to stay away from all that terrorism rot. And whammo!
Next on Cold Slither, Behind the Rock.
Hey there, Copperhead speaking for Cobra Retirement Acres Park, the premier retirement community for you ex-Cobras out there. I know what you're thinking, ex-Cobra? There's no such thing. Well, I'm here to tell you that there is. One day, the lasers will stop missing you, the hiss tanks will stop retreating, and all y'all'll have is your last parachute and retirement choices. This luxurious 100-acre community nestled in the foothills of Sierra Gordo is home to a wide variety of ex-freedom fighters. We have a thriving community of range vipers, televipers, astro vipers, vipers from all branches, but no toxo vipers. No one likes a toxo viper. Cobra Retirement Acres Park boasts a state-of-the-art exercise facility located in a hollowed-out terradrome. We have luxurious condos built from shells of abandoned rattlers. There are daily fishing and mine retrieval excursions on our retrofitted fleet of water moccasins. Cobra is not liable for injuries sustained during ordnance retrieval. Members even get a discounted vacation to Cobra La. Safe return not guaranteed. Why wait for that final parachute to fail before you enjoy your golden years? Take it from me, Copperhead. I was there at the start, and the Cobra Retirement Acres Park will be there for you at the end.
Thursday nights on CCTV is all about the laughs. At 7, check out your favorite episodes of That's My Destro, followed up by the brand new sitcom Best Enemies. When Captain Gridiron has to get a roommate due to G.I. Joe mismanaging his retirement funds, he gets more than he bargained for when Metalhead comes knocking. It's gonna be a bang for sure. Then at 8, Mercer is on the run and bustin' loose in the Emmy Award-winning Traitor to the Cause. At 9 p.m., when Jinx comes home to confront the Blind Master, she's in for a surprise as Billy returns on this very special episode of Ereshkigal Creek. It's must-see because it's the Law in Springfield Thursday, only on CCTV Channel 36, The Snake.
With the mind control and the music act in place, Destro took the plan to Cobra Commander, presenting it as his idea.
Of course I took credit for it. That's how hierarchies work. You think I personally designed the demon or the Razorback? Get real.
I like to think of it as a resume builder.
We asked members of Cobra High Command what they thought of the actual music that the Dreadnoks were playing.
Aye, but it needed more bagpipe.
The beautiful lyrics were overshadowed by all that banging.
More bagpipe!
Cold Slither? Ugh, I always preferred the Scorpions.
Bagpipe! Bagpipe! Bagpipe!
Motorbike Pete, you bastard!
This part of the story has been dramatized in cartoon form, how the band filmed their music video and eventually headlined a massive stadium performance. But is that all there was?
Not even close. You saw the sanitized Git version.
Gotta keep the little rotters happy.
I mean, that cartoon didn't have anywhere close to the amount of chocolate donuts we requested on our rider.
Yeah, the rider. People had a guff about Van Halen and their no brown M&M's thing, but no one ever talks about our rider.
It had the usual donuts, soda, of course, but we also had, hidden deep in the rider, a demand for giant bowls of M&M's, but only red M&M's. This was so we'd know they took our safety seriously.
When they showed up to shoot the video and there were no red M&Ms, the boys went mental.
Behind the Rock was only able to find one surviving member of the production crew, cinematographer Janice Capel.
They were screaming at the top of their lungs about how we didn't respect their art, how unsafe we were because we didn't pay attention to their rider. Mind you, they literally were taking buzzsaws and welding torches to the set while screaming about safety. I'd never seen anything like it.
I take my personal safety very seriously. If they weren't going to pay attention to the details, I was going to make them pay attention.
The problem was, red M&Ms weren't being made at the time. Mars Candy took them off the market for toxic concerns. Would you like to see the actual Cold Slither rider? I saved it. Here it is. In crayon, grape soda, chocolate donuts, and red Mams. Mams. They wrote M-A-M-S. Couldn't even spell it right. So, there were no details to miss.
I solved it by painting actual M&Ms with red spray paint. Actual toxic red spray paint.
Those M&Ms tasted bonza. Best I ever had.
They ate paint, and it calmed them down. And for the record, every single one of their checks bounced.
Finally, the big night had arrived for Cold Slither. Their massive global debut concert would be the event that would cement their legacy in rock and roll history. It was a rough start, to say the least. Satin, a popular nightclub chanteuse, was the opening act that evening. Many point to that odd pairing as the spark that lit the crowd's fuse.
I didn't want to do it. Have you seen my act? I'm a nightclub performer. I do love songs and ballads, primarily in small drag clubs that cater to criminals. I guess Cold Slither had the criminal part down.
Satin is amazing. She can play any house, anytime. I demanded she open the show.
Look, I'm not one to turn down a paying gig, so I said yes. But midway through, the co-brother got away. I noticed the crowd starting to turn. So I high-kicked my way off stage. It was a mess. Like asking Streisand to open for Rat.
I happen to enjoy both Streisand and Rat.
With a rough opening act, the crowd was restless, to say the least.
It's a good thing we had the subliminal messages in place. That crowd was gonna have a go like Altamont.
Turns out it really was just a one-hit wonder. Not a very correct one at that, anyway.
The crowd heard us live and were like, huh?
Throwing bottles is one thing. They started throwing chairs.
Enter their head roadie, Monkey Wrench.
I still contend that if the Jumbotron hadn't shown me breaking that guy's mug, the crowd wouldn't have rioted. I blame the AV bloke.
But riot they did. The crowd surged the stage, trampling dozens, including members of the G.I. Joe team that were in attendance.
I mean, who doesn't like good music? Plus, I'm a personal friend of Satin's. I mean, how could I pass up that concert? I tried to get backstage, just to say hi. That's when things got a little weird.
As the crowd turned on Cold Slither for their obvious lack of talent, the mind control kicked in and the audience became quite docile.
I don't know what docile means, but people have used that word, so, yeah.
We must have played Cold Slither, like 7 times, before it all went box on.
Primarily due to the efforts of 3 G.I. Joe members who had the foresight to wear earplugs to the concert. We caught up with CoverGirl of the G.I. Joe team during Paris Fashion Week.
It wasn't because girls don't like rock music, as has been portrayed. It's because we actually care about our hearing. I'm not going deaf because a roadie likes it loud. It just so happened I also blocked the mind control, so win-win.
As the Dreadnoks abandoned the stage, they were replaced by an impromptu G.I. Joe band, which brought the crowd to their feet.
Sure, they got to their feet to leave. I mean, yeah, rock and roll can play guitar, but the rest of us? Terrible. We were terrible. The crowd left immediately, like playing a crap song at 2 a.m., when you want your guests to leave.
The military police were on hand to take the Dreadnoks into custody. Luckily, Satin was released without any charges.
I never did catch up with Satin. Why? Was she asking about old Ship? What? No? Hold on. Hey, Mara, honey, are you home? No, Mara? Seriously, did she ask about me?
And so, it would seem that the era of Cold Slither had come to an end. Or did it?
The way I saw it, we had plausible deniability. We were independent contractors from Cobra, weren't we? We weren't savvy on this mind control plan.
The court saw it their way too, exonerating the group for any mind control related felonies. But it was too late. Zartan felt it was time to move on.
I only stayed that long because Xandar needed the money. I had things to do, schemes to accomplish, and angry ninjas to avoid.
When we return, we'll see how the band coped with the 90s, grunge, and impending obscurity. Next on Cold Slither, Behind the Rock.
I grew up not knowing who my dad was. In 1986, my ma gave birth to me in a Chicago motel room, and the only clue I had to my heritage was green hair, a slight echo in my voice, and a nasty aversion to sunlight. That was my identity. Until I used serpentstory.com and had my complete DNA profile cataloged. The scientists at serpentstory.com were able to take a swab of my DNA and match it against criminal databases all over the world. If my dad was out there, and if he was a wanted criminal, I was going to find him. The matching process was shockingly fast. They told me it was considered a red flag match. Serpentstory.com dispatched authorities to my home immediately to inform me of my results and read me my rights. It turns out my DNA is a hot mess of criminality, and I'm now wanted in 47 states and on 5 continents for high crimes. My lawyers argue that I can't be held liable for the crimes of my dad, but I say I'm lucky to know him. Zartan, I'd like you to meet your daughter, me, Zanya. If you can break me out of prison, that'd be great. We can go to a Sox game and get another face tattoo. If not, I understand. Go to serpentstory.com and meet the match of your life story. One felony at a time.
Saturday nights on CCTV Channel 36 brings you all the wrestling action you can handle. This week, Edmund Honda meets Big Bear for a tussle of the Titans. Tag team action abounds when Slice and Dice go toe-to-toe with Nunchuck and Dojo in a no-holds-barred Thunderdome match. And the main event, Big Boa defends his Springfield Championship belt against the young upstart, Carcass. All this plus a new installment of Viper's Pit on Saturday Night Serpent Slam only on CCTV Channel 36, The Snake.
Without a frontman, Cold Slither floundered. They tried bringing in some other Dreadnoks as replacements.
Zanzibar, regardless of what he says, cannot carry a tune. Nor can he carry off that top knot.
Thrasher, perfect name for a frontman, right? But first rehearsal, he did almost murder the sound engineer.
Almost. Sure, right. Try finding that bloke.
With no other options, the Dreadnoks settled on their former roadie, Monkey Wrench.
I thought I did a good job. I mean, our album, Cold Slither Presents Monkeying Around, charted very high in my hometown, North Wales. Number 5, I believe.
A real rough spin.
Monkey Wrench didn't have the same vocal range as Zartan. Zed could impersonate all the greats. Plant, Morrison, Roth, even Joplin. The closest Monkey Wrench got was Eddie Money.
My rendition of Shakin' was legendary.
It was shitty.
The final nail in the coffin was when Monkey Wrench started dating one of Buzz's skirts. That was a real swipe.
Sure, Buzzer had 4 flappers at the time, but still, you don't do that to a mate. You just don't.
I didn't even know she was his tabby. She'd occasionally mention Dickie, but I didn't know any ponce named Dickie. To this day, I don't know anyone named Dickie Blinken Smythe.
I don't like to talk about it.
Mr. Blinken Smythe, do you want a Fresca?
Yeah, I'd fancy one black cherry, please.
And so, Cold Slither broke up to pursue other projects. First up, Ripper and Buzzer released an album of duets that missed the mark.
I told them to call it the Down Under Duo, but someone at the record company realised that Buzzer was English, so they changed it. I don't read too good, so I approved it. My bad.
The album, The Down Low Duo Goes Down On Ya, never even charted during its 1992 release.
Sat in the dustbin for donkey's years. Then it had this resurgence of the club scene, though, you know. Thought at least there'd be some publishing money in that, right?
Extensive Enterprises owns all publishing rights.
To all our recording artists
in perpetuity.
As the 90s gave way to grunge, the boys tried one more chance at musical greatness, recording an episode of MTV Unplugged.
Cold Slither, you'll be joining us soon. A band of vipers playing a dance with an iron fist and a reptile hiss. We shall rule. Tired of words, I've heard it before. We're not gonna play the game no more.
Audience members claimed Cold Slither's performance was amazing, a new mark of greatness, comparing it to Elvis's 1968 comeback special. Unfortunately, the air date of June 17th, 1994 worked against the band.
Absolutely. Again, Pat, at this point, it is a pursuit, and unfortunately it has a lot of mitigating circumstances because of the high profile of the proposed suspect that's inside the vehicle, which could possibly be and appears to be at this time O.J. Simpson.
The worst ratings of the history of MTV Unplugged continued the curse of Cold Slither, and the music died for Ripper and Buzzer, but not for Torch, who found a second life in the standards.
Torch is Torch songs, my collection of guitar standards. Did surprisingly well, gained me a whole new audience. I was as shocked as the next bloke.
It finally made sense for me to tour with them, and this time they didn't even ask.
Huh, oh yeah. Satin would have made a great opening act, wouldn't she? Huh. I didn't even think of that.
And so they finally faded into obscurity, until a short-lived reality show resurrected their music in 2002. Filming on Wilden with Buzz and Rip was unfortunately cut short by Ripper's battle with diabetes. Today, Torch has a healthy career for himself as a sessions player in Hollywood. Ripper runs a halfway house in the swamps of Jersey for recovering sugar addicts. And Buzzer has abandoned the music game entirely, choosing a life of crime over the fame and fortune that came with Cold Slither.
I didn't choose crime. Crime chose me. I did choose to keep doing it, though. That was definitely on me.
Xandar still tours with a Cold Slither cover act, playing state fairs and summer fests.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, Chicago Ridge. We are Xandar's Cold Slither, and we are here to melt your minds. Hit it, Zanzibar.
Zorana still works in the music industry as a body double.
These divas don't want to do half the stuff they need for their career. So I put on one of those face masks Cobra always has a stash of, and I impersonate them. I've been Spears, Stefani, even was a Kardashian once. Ray J, call me.
Zartan's whereabouts are shrouded in mystery, as would be expected for a master of disguise.
Renaissance fairs. Lots of Renaissance fairs. Where else can my archery skills be used?
As for the power trio that made up the heart of Cold Slither, they have no real regrets.
Well, it was something, I mean. We've done a lot in our day. Been in space, other dimensions, a stretch or two in the jug. I guess Rockstar was just another thing.
It was the greatest thing I'd ever been a part of. And the only thing I can look back on my life with any sense of pride. I'll miss my foot.
Yeah, it was alright.
This was Cold Slither Behind the Music, written, produced, and narrated by Joe Slepsky, featuring the amazing vocal talents of Ross Fisher Davis as Buzzer, David Elton as Torch, Kai Anthony Smythe as Ripper, Stephen Jubber as Zartan, Claire Taylor as Zorana, Alex Tortora as Xandar, Cobra Commander, and Tomax. Paul Galliano as Zaymot and Copperhead. Dave Amiot as Dr. Mindbender. Scott Peacock as Destro. Rebecca Wallenczak-Slepsky as Janice Capel and Zanya. David Schrader as Monkey Wrench and Fred 16. Mark Silgalis as Major Blood. Lizzie Cherner as Satin and Covergirl. Jeremy Vilmer as the Cobra Lock Catheter Guy. And the incomparable Morgan Lofting as the Baroness. This has been a labor of love. All characters are wholly owned by Hasbro and is a parody based off of the amazing Sunbow episode Cold Slither, written by Michael Charles Hill. I hope you enjoyed it. Big thanks to Hooded Cobra Commander for allowing me to play as part of Cobra Convergence 4. Follow the Joe on Joe podcast at Joe on Joe Pod on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And finally, all music was recorded by the incredible Chicago band Hot as Hell. Check them out at facebook.com/hotashellmusic. Produced and recorded by the legendary Matt Von Teese. And now, I give you, in full, Cold Slither.